we're going to look at releasing tissue around the elbow joint, either on the outside, which is tennis elbow, or the inside, which is known as golfer's elbow. So you could have tight elbows for a multitude of reasons, and it can be working from the forearm up with the shoulder down. It can be from working on a computer all day, writing all day, the way you sit and use a mouse. It can be from grip strength, it can be from driving, it could be from exercise at the gym. Whatever it's from, the treatment would be the same. So we want to work initially and mostly through the muscles of the forearm to try and release the tension coming through the tendons at the joint here. So, easiest thing to do with a mobility ball and a surface, you can do this at your desk, you could do it at home, you can do it on a bench like I'm here. So you're going to work initially through the flexors, so the soft side of the forearm, and you're going to just work nice and firmly up the forearm. So you can just move the ball as you need to, and you're just working all the way up the forearm from the wrist. Okay, and as you go, you'll probably find areas, some are tighter than others. You're going to stay on this soft side of the forearm and start to work your way around as you go. So all the way up to the joint itself, okay? Even if it's tender and uncomfortable in that bony section, you want to be working very gently with some pressure through that joint. Okay, then we're going to work onto the upper side of the arms, the extensors. So we turn the arm upwards and we do the same thing. With this one, it's a little bit more sort of difficult to get into position. But what we want to be doing here, as we get to the top part of the elbow, you want to lean your body weight over the arm, pressing the ball into that chunk of muscle at the front here, and then rotating through the wrist. If I show you on the other arm, we've got the ball into place. Imagine you're turning a door handle. Okay, so you'll feel where it's most uncomfortable. You want to keep that ball in position, and then you want to rotate at the wrist. We're actively releasing that muscle. And you're going to do that all the way up to the outside of the elbow. Okay, so we're working anywhere from here all the way up to the edge of the joint itself with an active release. From there, we're going to look at the bicep and triceps. The easiest thing with the tricep is starting with the elbow in flexion. You can roll and extend, and you can roll in and flex. The order you do this, the manner you do this doesn't really matter. You can do a little bit of friction work, as you can see I'm doing here. Each of you will be different, so find where you have the most discomfort, whether it's inside or outside the arm, and just spend the time on it, but making sure you're adding movement whilst you're pressing, okay? So this movement here is really important when you're releasing the tricep itself. So you want to work from the back of the elbow all the way up into the back of the shoulder. So a little bit awkward again, obviously easier as you're on a raised surface. You want to try and get into the shoulder itself, the back of the deltoid here. With a bicep, probably the most awkward of them all, because the ball can be a little bit too big, but you're just going to compress the ball into place and crush it there with your forearm. You might find that you don't get a huge amount of release on this. If you don't, you can keep the arm still and you can work through some fascial work just by pressing and moving the ball yourself. We're then going to look down towards the wrist. If your wrists are restricted and tight, that can cause elbow problems. If your elbows are tight, it can cause wrist problems. So it's important to work both at the same time. The first thing we're going to do is just standing up. Again, you can do this on a surface at home or at work. Just loading your body weight through your wrist nice and gently. So once you feel there's enough pressure, you're just going to rock in that position, about 30 seconds worth. You're then going to turn your hands the opposite way, making sure that your palms and fingers can both be flat on the surface, and you're gently going to pull back until you feel enough pressure and you gently rock. It's then important to work all the way through the palm into the fingers. So you're going to try and bend your elbows and lift the base of your palm off the surface, stretching right the way through into your wrist extensors there, your wrist flexors, sorry. And then finally, probably the one I see most issues with, bringing the wrist down into flexion, starting over the wrist, keeping the elbow straight, gently pulling back. Once you feel the pressure, you're wiggling the fingers, making sure that the elbows are straight throughout this. So if it's uncomfortable, you can do that pressure here, work all the way back. If the elbows are going to bend, stop where that is. Okay. From there, we can take the hands together into sort of a prayer position, drive them down the body, keeping the palms together, flip them the other way, and then try and pull the palms up towards your chin, keeping hands together. That's a really nice test and retest to see if you've improved that range through the forearm, to see if that wrist, if there's any tightness in the wrist, which could be causing further issues up the elbow. So the order you do all of that stuff in really doesn't matter, but it's probably one of the main brilliant things this ball is good for is releasing the smaller muscles of the forearm and up through the tricep.